Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Coach, my season is halfway through, and I don't know where the weeks went. All of a sudden, we find ourselves at 3-2. 5 games are gone. 2-0 in the district, which is good. But half the dang season's gone. Man, that's weird. Feels like we just got started. But it is what it is.
This is there's like 3 parts of the season, and of course how your season is going, the regular season, and how your season is going kind of determines what the 3 parts are like. And I spent the first 12 seasons, 13 seasons of high school ball coaching bad football teams, struggling. 1 or 2 of those, the first half of the season was looking really good. But most of them, by the middle of the season, it's like, yeah, we're not making the playoffs. We're not. So, the first 3 weeks, give or take, you're figuring it out. And no matter how bad you are, you're like, we're going to figure this out. You're pulling levers, solving problems, and it's very easy to stick with what the plan was and everything. In the middle of the season, if it's not going well, it can be really frustrating. If you're really good, it can be kind of like, all right, let's just get to the playoffs. It can be a grind. The middle can be a grind. And then the last few weeks, it's like either you're burned out and just want it to be over, or you are, getting ready, like we're talking about here. And that's kind of what we're talking about here is fading. Or really three things can happen. You can be in that intense playoff push and things really pick up, and it's a lot of fun, especially if it goes well. It's a lot of fun. Or it's over. I mean, 1 is it's over. 2 is you're right there and you're pushing and it's the intensity picks up. And 3 is we just need to get to the playoffs. Like
we're locked.
We know we're locked. It's already it's a wrap. We know how good we are. We're not really, you might have a rivalry game or something like that you're going to pick up for, but a lot of it you're playing, you've figured out how good you are, which is dangerous because you can have a letdown and find out that you're not that good, especially if you're running into one of the teams that's in the push. And so it can be a kind of interesting last part of the season, but this middle part, sometimes you got to really find some motivation. This is where I find that a lot of coaches come into the season, and maybe this is you, not you, but some other coaches. And of course, by the time you listen to this, we're probably towards the end of this middle part. But the middle part is what I always caution people about. Things like just a really good example is grading film. And I have a system for grading that I talk to our coaches about. Here's how I would grade. I would watch every play 1 time and give it a plus or a minus for something that's important to you. Effort, execution. Talked about Ricky Coons taught me the 9-5-9 rule. 9 guys within 5 yards of the ball 90% of the time. So like that one, when I would grade that, I would just let it run to the end of the play, pause it, count it. That takes a little longer, but like you can just watch a play and know like the effort was good on that play or the effort was bad on that play, plus or minus. And so like if a coach comes to us and say, we got to fix effort, my head coach would sit and grade effort and would take hours because you grade every single player. But I always encourage coaches, keep it real simple, run it 1 time, just give the whole team plus or minus. Because ultimately that's what matters, right? Plus or minus. Which kids aren't doing it. Like, and if it's a minus, like because 1 kid didn't do it, point it out, put it on a clip, put together your 10 minuses, put them on a clip, and 7 of them are that 1 kid. You don't need to grade them individually, I don't think, but it does work grading it. But this is the point in the year where that's the sort of stuff that slides. Because you're really into it at the start, and then like week 5, week 6, you're like, I gotta spend 6 hours.
Everything gets a little harder.
Yeah, and so I really encourage guys to
graphics for the team, and it's like,
yeah,
whew, we do 5 or 6 a week, and now I'm at 30, and it does add up real quick. Now you get toward the
Everything,
playoff push, and you're like, man, these matter now, right? These are big
yes,
times. But there's
yes.
that middle draw. Anything can be like that.
And this is the time of season where you go play a team and you get blown out and you just decide not to even watch the film.
Yeah.
When the reality is there's a lot to learn from it, or you don't send it in for game film analysis or whatever. The reality is there's a lot to learn from every film and every chance that you have to see it. But yeah, at the beginning of the season, we come up with all of these big plans, and then it can be really difficult to keep up with them this time of year.
Yeah.
But if they're working, push through. But one thing is, if it's something that's not producing results and it's burning you out, you still got 3, 4, 5 weeks, you got playoffs left, whatever, just drop it. But just drop it. Don't make it, if it's killing you, you made a mistake at the beginning of the year, drop it. It's okay. But just learn from it. Next year, come up with a simpler thing that you can maintain.
Jump to our power minute here. So today we are talking about maintaining peak performance, which is exactly what we just said, right? Talking about that burnout. Title of the show being "We Start Strong but Fade Late in the Season," and what we just talked about with the simple things that you do to make a team successful on the coaching side. Your players are probably burnout as well, right? So we're talking about practice planning to maintain that peak performance. How can we limit injuries and accelerate recovery for those guys that just can't seem to get back? And how do we keep our players focused late in the season? Real quick, I want to remind you guys that this show is, we're putting things out to help coaches get better. We're putting things out to help the game of football be better. It doesn't matter what level you're at. I guess a professional could listen and maybe take something out of it, down to the youngest of peewee and youth. So if you're anywhere in between there, you probably can get something out of one of our shows. Please do refer this to someone that's in those positions. If you're just listening the first time, we appreciate you for jumping in today. Hope you take something out of this and shoot it on to someone else. Let's pay the bills and get this thing going.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna just talk about some things that we're doing. I've been publishing more, writing more again. So jump over to one of the things that I found was I've found this in everything. I know everybody loves video content. YouTube's a search engine, all that sort of stuff. And people are doing podcasts. And obviously I love podcasting. I've been doing it for a while.
Right.
But I like to write, and I write the emails and everything. But everybody's jumped to YouTube. Everybody's jumped to podcasting. And I like to read stuff. I like to have something that I can sit down, not a book. I mean, I like reading books too, but so I've been writing blog posts, in-depth blog posts, hitting right now some of the topics that are kind of, missing from JDFB. So if you just go to joedanielfootball.com/blog, I guess, or scroll down to the bottom of the homepage and click on blog. I know I've done 5 strengths and 5 weaknesses of the 4-2-5 defense, which is a good one for if you're thinking about switching. If you're getting to the end of the season, you're thinking about making that switch, or if your 4-2-5 defense struggled, you might find like it wasn't because your kids suck or you suck as a coach. You just maybe weren't prepared for that weakness. So check that out. I just wrote a big post on cover 3, breaking down the basics of cover 3, spot drop cover 3, country cover 3. Just finished one on drills, drill design, why you use drills, what you don't use drills for. So just go check it out. Go to joedanielfootball.com/blog. And they're coming up. Plan right now is every Monday, every Wednesday, new blog, every Thursday, new podcast coming out. And of course, if you're on our email list, I'll be, sending those out as well and posting them up on, right now we're posting a lot on Facebook, facebook.com/joedanielfootball. So you will find them there. And if you're a Facebook fan, please go over there. Get in the car. We'll talk about it at the end.
Yeah, not a Facebook fan here, so sweet man.
Me either, but it's a business,
Let's jump right at yes. That's exactly why I'm drawn back into it, because everyone's there. Let's jump part 1 here. We're talking about being burnout late in the season for coaches or for players, just whatever it is. Year after year, you tend to just fall off towards the end. This could be as simple as your scheduling. Maybe you're scheduling cupcakes early and you look really good because you're not challenging yourself. And then you get to your district where everybody's a little more balanced and things fall apart. But we're going to tackle the things that you can help outside of those few games at the beginning of the season today. So, Joe, why don't you tell us Here in part one, how can we use practice planning to prevent that fall off and to maintain that peak performance?
Well, I think one of them is just to be honest before we get into the practice planning. Be honest, like what you just said. The past 4 years for me at Colonial Heights, our schedule was very much set up where we scheduled 3 games that were against teams who were either 2As or 3As. 2 out of 3 were in conference teams that we would play in the playoffs, but weren't in our traditional district. And again, for those who don't, Virginia, we finally, after decades of not redistricting ever, did redistrict. And when that happened, or did rework the conferences, but we kept a lot of our traditional games, which means now that we're playing a lot of, a 3A might have a schedule. We play some 3As. We have some 3As whose entire traditional district is 1As and 2As. And we have others whose entire, like ours, where most of the district was, or a lot of the district was 5As, 6As, 4As, tough, high ranking opponents. And so we would schedule the first 3 non-district games against teams that were likely playoff opponents, winnable games, 3A, our size. Then we would get into the meat of the season, and often you would have 2, 3, 4 teams that were just bigger, that were just, so far the competition level would really ramp up. And so, you might start out 2-1, 3-0, and you've got a good team. And we started some of those at 1-2, but you've got a good team, for the situation. And then you go and you play the teams that are competing for, 5A, 4A state titles, and you take a couple beatings, and it's like everybody's all of a sudden like depressed. It's like,
Right.
we realistically knew this was going to happen. And in fact, in a couple of those years, we lost 1 or 2 of those games against 5A schools. We lost really close games. We were really bad. We were really in them. And it should have come away as, hey, we're doing the right thing. But because we started the season at 2-1, 3-0, and maybe blew a couple teams out that weren't on that level, that everybody starts looking like, because it's easy when you step back and you look at it to understand your strength of schedule. And but in the moment, it can be like all of a sudden, we were 2-1 or we were 3-0 and we were on top of the world, and now we're 3-4. And the reality is now we're getting to the end of the season where we could win out and we could finish the season 6-4 and we could go to the playoffs and we could do things like at that school. We could do things that hadn't been done in years. We could have the first winning season in 17 years. We could have back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in 36 years, 37 years. We did that. But I can tell you that week 7, it was like, this is bad. Won the first playoff game in school history last year. I can tell you that not even week 7, maybe later than that, it was like, this is bad, bad, bad. We were staring at that last season. We were looking at that season, which ended up being a historic season. First home playoff game, first playoff win, looking at that season in the middle of the year, going, this is a disaster. This is a total disaster. I had a couple overtime wins, had a couple wins off of blocked last minute field goals, and it ended up being, a historic season. And then it ended up being really depressing because we got blown out in the second round of the playoffs. But it's still, you have to sit back and look and go, we did something that's never been done.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things that I think are important, and they going into your practice plan. Actually, before we go into the actual practice plan, there's 2 things that I think are important to keep up. One is your conditioning. Now, whether you do that through, high tempo practices, I like to have a little bit of a conditioning at the end, kind of like Tabata style, like quick, we'll do 10s, we'll do 20s, we'll do 40s, 5 minutes. I think that keeps up. I don't knock gassers and that kind of stuff, but something quick sprints, short rest, quick sprint, short rest, quick sprint, short rest. Hills, if you got a short hill, those kinds of things are great. I like to keep that up. I think that this is also the time of year where one of the first things that drops is your weight room. And I think you need a good in-season weight program, because if you're not doing any maintenance level of weight program, when you get, remember, we've gone all of August, all of September. Now we're into, midway through or late October. It's been almost 3 months since we were really hitting it in the weight room. If you have not been keeping up your in-season weightlifting, and JDFB weight room, which will be opening up here at the beginning of November, like November 10th, I want to say. Yeah, 10th through the 14th, we're going to be having, it's open now. You can go get it if you want to go get it now. But that week of November 10th through 14th will be the last chance to get it for the 2025 rates. So you want to get on that. And that includes, the complete program includes an in-season program that takes about 25 minutes. And it's set up so that you could do it on Thursday, the day before the game. It's not going to wear your guys' legs out. You'll be fine. So you can do it on your short Monday day and your short Thursday day. But if you are not doing that, you are really seeing the atrophy from not doing any sort of weightlifting. Your players are maybe in great shape if you're keeping up your conditioning. They're in quote unquote football shape, but they're losing those strength gains, which means they're losing muscle mass. They're losing, and that's going to cause a lot of other things to happen for them. So you've got to make sure that that's intact. Just in general, having that, and then also your speed training. If you're using athletic speed and movement, Dale Basquet's program, we have an in-season program there. You need to be doing some sort of speed training and maintaining that throughout the season. So outside of the practice plan, are all of those things in place? And if they're not, you should bring them back in. I mean, look, maybe you dropped off on the weight room a little bit. Okay. You're about to play a team that's going to boat race you. This is a great time to go ahead and put some weightlifting back in and start getting it ready so that you're kind of, you get it back quick in the next 3-4 weeks in the playoffs and everything. So 2 or 3 weeks, but hopefully all of those things are in place. Maintain them. Don't drop them. This is not the time to drop those things. This is not the time to cut those things. I'll hear guys say like, we're in the playoffs and we're not going to gain any strength in these workouts. So we just won't do them. It's not about what you're going to gain. It's about what you're going to lose. And, last week I talked about the book, The Compound Effect, right? If you do a little thing every single day, it doesn't make a difference in the first week. It might not make a difference in the first month. You might not see the difference in the first 2 months. Take that compound effect and say that everyone loses 2% of their strength by you not lifting that week. Everybody just loses 2% off of their pick a lift, their squat, their bench, whatever. Just across the board, they lose 2% of their strength because we didn't lift this week. Multiply that by 22 positions. Okay. I don't know. I'm making this math up.
Not a mathematician.
But it's significant. I mean, but it's significant. Everybody on the team lost 2% strength. That means your entire team, every position, lost 2% strength. So make sure all of that is intact. I think it's really, really valuable for the consistency of the program.
We had Derek Smith on a couple of years ago, and he was a strength and conditioning guy. And we had this conversation, and it takes 10 to 14 days to start losing your max strength. So if you don't lift for 1 week, you just need a week off. You've not really hurt your guys in their current max strength. Of course, you're not adding to. But if you just have a tough week, you need to recover, take a week off. You're not going to hurt them in the weight room. Max speed, you lose in 3 days. It takes 3 days for those neurons to start breaking down, and now your kids cannot run as fast as they should be able to. So if you start looking at what do I need to do a recovery program here, there you go. Don't get out of the weight room. But if you're in a situation, we're talking about burnout, man. Hey, my kids are just smoked. We're falling off. You need that week. You're going to pay a little bit later because you didn't get the gains from right now. But you've got about 10 days before you start losing max strength.
But you don't need to take the week off. So like we have a lift in JDFP weight room that I love for football. I use it for track guys in the off season. Give me 10 minutes. So Chris Lawyer programs it. There's one complex that we do that nobody knows what it is when we get to it. The CGPS press variation front squat. Okay, it's a complex.
I love every time I start it back over
Yeah,
and I have to text you like,
everybody has to figure out what it is every single time. So clean grip or close grip power snatch. So it's power. It's a from the floor overhead power snatch, but with a not narrow grip, but more like what you would grip for a clean than a traditional snatch grip.
yeah,
So just outside of the hips type of grip on the bar. So you do 3 of those. Then you do we do a lightweight, like 30% of your power clean max, right? So very lightweight. We're talking. I'm sorry, I haven't been in the football weight room this year, so I everything is in kilos in my mind, so I got to think this through. We're talking if a guy has a 200-pound clean, we're talking about 65 pounds, right? So we're talking put the 10-pound bumpers on the bar and do it, you know, or actually you can do it less than 30%. So you can just do the bar. A lot of times I just do the bar. You do five of the clean grip power snatches. Then on the last one, you keep it up your chest and you do 5 presses, and then you keep it up your chest and you do 5 front squats. Okay. Then you put 10% more on. So our 200-pound squat guy will put another 20 pounds on. So he goes 65, 85, 105. Okay, let's just say that's actually, that's a decent, it's a very lightweight, 50% at the highest. So it would actually be 100, not 105. And he does 3-3-3, and then he does 3-3-3 for 3 sets. Okay. If I get 5 sets, if I get that, it takes 10 minutes. Let's just I got a group of 5. They're all doing that are about the same weight, put a 5 on, put a 2.5 on, whatever, but they're about the same weight. And I get everybody to get in there. I can do that whole lift in 10 minutes. I've gotten an explosive clean grip power snatch. I've gotten an upper body press, and I've gotten a front squat. If you just do that for 10 minutes instead of taking the week off, okay, you've gotten a lift. It's 10 minutes. It just keeps, hey, we're going to go in the weight room. We're just going to do this. Bam, bam, bam. We're out. You're not, and don't tell me that if you do that on Thursday that your guys are going to be, they're 100-pound squat, because your 200-pound clean guy, I'm assuming, is a 350 squat, right? He just did 3 sets of 3 with 100 pounds. He'll be okay. He's not, but he got a lift. Right. He got a little maintenance. Like, to me, there's value in just getting that and the consistency of it for your guys. You don't need to just don't ditch it. Don't ditch the entire. Same thing with speed. Like, yeah, Dale Basket, athletic speed and movement, 25-minute program, off-season program, 25 to 30 minutes. Don't ditch the entire program because you don't want to invest 25 minutes. We have an in-season program that takes like 10 or 15. We also have a warm-up that you can just incorporate that at the beginning. And, you don't have to ditch everything because you're a little tired. You won't cancel practice, right? I had an athletic director that I worked for, and this is when we weren't very good. And the basketball team was very good. They had a couple really good players. They had Reggie Jefferson, who led the NCAA in scoring and played for the Thunder and a couple other teams in the NBA. Set the NCAA record, led the NCAA in scoring at VMI. He had a couple of really good players. But basketball's a different animal. And he came to me. I was like getting coffee in the morning, and he's like, "Hey, I just want to talk to you about it. What do you think about just, the guys are tired. This was this time of year, and I guess the guys are tired." I was like, "Just, what if you just give them a day off?" I'm like, "That's not how football works, dude. That's not how football works." Now, there are situations where,
anyway, right?
now in a bye week, if we had a bye week in the middle of the season, we give them a couple of days off. But football, we come in on Monday, we install the game plan. On Tuesday, we're working on one part of the game plan. On Wednesday, we're working on one part of the game plan. On Thursday, we are polishing it up, getting ready for Friday. Like, there's no day to take off. There's no opportunity. We can take some pads off. We can maybe go in shells. We can go in helmets. We can shorten practice. But there's no days to take off in football. It doesn't work that way. So I think that's something, don't just take off, but you can shorten it. You can reduce it. You can work around it.
So we start talking about that practice planning, and so we talked about the things you need to make sure you're keeping in there, keeping your weightlifting program, keep your speed training program, a little conditioning if that's what you need, if that's what your program has. What else can we do in our practice planning to kind of get through this lull or this, whatever?
I think there is you need to look at your practices and say, are we getting better, or are we just practicing to practice? and we talk about everyday drills. So the article that I just wrote over at joedanielfootball.com/blog, BLOG, on drills, talked about, and we've talked about it on here, how I don't like the concept of everyday drills where you do the same drill every day, because if you're doing that, either the drill's not working because you're still running the drill 10 weeks later trying to get them to do it, or the drill is pointless because they've already mastered this and they're just spending 10 minutes maintaining, and you're doing it because we do it every day. So I don't like things like rope shoot sleds. I don't think that they, have a benefit, ladder, all that kind of stuff, because it's just the same thing every day and it's not really on the field. So how are we progressing in our drills? Are we adding? Are we developing? Are we improving? Has our initial guard read for linebackers, are they still just following guards when they pull, or are we now progressed to having the guards and the backfield that we are going to see this week? So if I'm playing a wing T team, and they're a buck series team, I'm using down block pull, buck trap. I'm using pull, buck sweep. We're working through that. I'm using counter, and I'm giving them the looks in the backfield so that they can now pick up and track the second level of it. Or I'm having them, let's say we're playing a buck sweep team, and I know that when I run the buck sweep, and when they run that buck sweep, I'm going to get a pull outside or going to get a pull inside, and I know that this end or this H or whatever is going to be coming down to block my linebacker. Now I'm adding in, I got the read, I take off, and now I'm ripping through the linebacker. Am I building that drill to create the play that I want? Am I combining one-on-one games, or am I adding new things in? Am I practicing pieces of the game that we need to work on? Do I have a focus in every single practice? Do I go into the practice with a focus? If you look at practice plans, my practice plans, and in that drill article, you can see a sample practice plan. At the top of that practice plan, there's a section that says focus, offensive focus, defensive focus. Okay, if every day has a focus and you're going in and you're attacking that focus and you're telling your players, today, we are going to get better at. Today, we are going to fix. Today, we are going to improve. Today, we are going to master this skill that we need to win on Friday. And we may be working on it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday so that we have it on Friday, because you don't really learn something doing it one time. Right. But if my players know we're coming here to do this, and the practice plan is truly built around solving that problem, fixing that thing, getting better, not just going out and working for 2 hours because it's football and it's a grind. Football is a grind, just a grind. Oh, no, it's not supposed to just be a grind. You're supposed to get better every day. There's supposed to be a purpose for practice. I talk about it all the time with youth and semi-pro coaches and our adult coaches international that can't get kids to show up to practice. Like high school, you can make it required, you can suspend them, this and that. Youth, it's it's their parents. Their parents are like, yeah, you can come. We're not coming to practice, because your parents think that the practice is just a practice. You have adults. If you coach semi-pro, if you coach international adult football, they have jobs, they have families, they have other things. If they think we're going to go to practice, and I've seen enough semi-pro practices to know that a lot of semi-pro practices, we don't know who's going to be there, and we just kind of dick around for 2 hours doing some football stuff. Well, I can justify in my mind that, I'm not going to football today because I got work thing, but I'm going to go to the gym and get a lift. And that's going to be, I'm doing something that's going to help me be a better football player. That means that your practice isn't producing anything, and that they don't believe they're going to get better at your practice. What's the focus of your practice? What are you trying to do in your practice? Then are you building the entire practice, that focus, towards improving that thing? Is it organized? Is it efficient? Are we getting out there? Are we getting things done? And we're walking up the field. We're walking up the field, not exhausted, not miserable, not hating life. We're walking up the field feeling like I got better today. If I got better today, took 45 minutes, fine. If it took an hour, fine. If it took an hour and a half, fine. If it took 2.5 hours, we're at the back end of fine now. We're not getting better in 3 hours. In 3 hours, we're just getting exhausted and bored and everything else. So, I mean, what's the focus in your practice? And it's the most important things that you can do now happen on Friday night or Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and that is breaking down your film from last week, watching your film from last week, self-scouting, figuring out what you need to get better at, watching film from your next opponent and figuring out what you need to stop to win the game. That builds your practice plan. And it's more about us than it is about them, because them's is zones or them's is gaps, right? If we're talking defense, them's is odds or them's is evens every week. It's every week. That they just are. If you have a good system, what they do doesn't really matter. You have things that you need to fix until you get to a certain level. When you're at a certain level of execution, you can start really focusing on the thems. But when you're at middle of the season and trying to get in the playoff, there's probably a lot of us that needs to be fixed to focus on, and you figure that focus out on a Saturday, Sunday, so that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the practice plan is built around where you need to be on Friday, and you start with the end in mind.
Yeah, that's it goes back to that like practice shell and understanding what you should be trying to accomplish or how you're going to accomplish it, right? So that kids understand this is the way that coach is going to solve this problem this week. Once again, it's not a drill. The drill is not part of the shell, but where you're solving different problems, how you're going to go about that is part of the drill. I like them once again because it lets kids know what days are speed days, what days are strength days. I think those should be in there, right? We're talking lifting and running earlier. Get
Yep.
those things in there. Anyway, so I think all of that will help your kids understand what the purpose is of that every single practice. And I think it helps you lay out what the purpose of your practice is. If kids are always skipping on Tuesday, maybe it's because that's your grind day and you're just out there putting the ball in the middle of the field and going, right? You haven't gotten that situational thing. Monday, you installed a new game plan. Tuesday's a grind day. Wednesday, we're looking at whatever. So maybe that's a day you need to work at. But
I like, because Tuesday is in our plan one of the toughest days, and I loved we had Mondays where install special teams out on the field, little film, install on the field, special teams work, and then weight room on Monday, and then Tuesday, we do speed and weight room. Speed at the beginning, film, speed, whatever, on the field for about an hour and a half, in the weight room for about a half hour, 2 hours done, right? 2 hours total. That's not on the field. It's total, includes film and weight room. Tuesday, come in, hit the field, do the work. Toughest, heaviest hitting, conditioning, gone. Toughest day, shortest day. Then Wednesday would have practice and weights, and now I would probably do Thursday as weights, but Wednesday would be practice and then weights, and Thursday and the weights is mostly upper body. It's explosive and upper body rather than the squatting and stuff. Thursday, speed, short, practice, done early again on Thursday, and so you kind of shorten break the week up that way so that it doesn't wear everybody out.
For sure. Jump on to the second part here. We're talking about people getting worn out, and with getting worn out, and this comes injuries. So what are we doing, Joe, to ensure that we're, number one, limiting those injuries, but they're inevitable. They're going to happen. So how do we accelerate that recovery for our players that do end up on that side?
Well, I think the first thing you can do is prevention more than anything. And JDFB Weight Room has that prevention element. Whatever weight room program you're doing, one of the things that we talk about is Chris is really big on, who wrote JDFB Weight Room, is we don't have max days. We don't have max effort day. We don't have max effort days. We don't have max out single rep max days. They're unnecessarily dangerous. Let's just say you do a single rep max as a football player, that's not making you better. So for our traditional ego, like we want to see the big bench press max and the big squat max, but they don't help. So we use a rep max calculator. We do a 3 rep max or a 5 rep max or something like that. Not more than 5. Then it starts to lose its effectiveness. But also, more importantly, Chris has built all of the accessory work around relatively lightweight, higher reps, injury prevention. And we've seen a big drop since starting JDFB Weight Room several years ago, a big drop in going back 7 or 8 years now. Saw a immediate decrease in injuries decreases because of the way that the accessories are laid out. A lot of decreases in hamstring and quad injuries because those tend to come from imbalance and running a planned out program by a real strength coach and not just, the guy who played football and could lift heavy things, that was me. Having somebody who does it really scientifically and thought out and that has 30 years of experience and 50,000 hours and hours, something like that in the weight room, having a real expert strength program, we get a balanced program, and that's lowered injuries. He's added in a lot of neck work, upper torso type work that has reduced concussions. So if you're running a good program, and I'll just tell you, I'm not going to name names or anything, but I'll tell you that a lot of the guys that are out there doing strength programs, they don't think about all this crap. They want numbers. I mean, I'm telling you that this is a great program that we have, but it is freaking boring. It's not boring to me because I love the detail of it, and it's the workouts that I do for the most part. But it's not flashy. It's not you don't need fancy equipment. It's not about putting up huge rep numbers and all this sort of stuff and max numbers and killing your kids and all this sort of stuff. It's not about that. It's not flashy. Chris is not a marketer at all. That's why I market it. If Chris was a marketer, he'd go out and do it himself, and he'd probably sell a whole lot more of them if he told the stories of all these crazy things. But it's not what we do. It's a real program that really truly works, and a lot of people that are putting programs out, their program works because they have flashy stuff, but they don't have the things that keep your kids on the field. You need to make sure that that's part of your program, and it's not just, we're lifting more, but we're hurt half the season. Great.
Right.
Like if you do a traditional powerlifting program, most traditional powerlifting programs are not going to have that. First of all, you're not going to get the explosiveness, but you're not going to get that balance. If you make it up on your own and you're not a really experienced coach at programming and everything, you're not going to get that balance. It's just not going to be there. And you're going to end up having an unnecessarily high number of injuries. Like I talk about the first year that we implemented it, 27 players at the start of the season, 27 players at the end of the season. Every single one of them started on varsity program, was dressed out, played in the game. And by the way, they all played in the game, second round of the playoffs. Okay, against a team with 55 kids, and we ran out of bullets because they just kept bringing more at us. So that's number one in the injury prevention. And then number two, I'm not an expert in this area, but you need to have your recovery in place. You need to be paying attention. You need to be smart. If a kid is really beat up, is it beneficial for them to stay out of contact this week so to have them on Friday? Or does the entire team need a light contact week? Again, not off, light contact, reduce contact, take the helmets off, take the shoulder pads off, or stay off the ground, something like that, to avoid injuries. If you don't have, so why, if you look at my drill work, now I've always preferred to go full speed team, but I'll quick whistle it, and I've always preferred full pads. I've always preferred to go quick whistle and run team with that way, where we're executing the plays and it's full go and everybody knows it's full go. Because I think one of the places where you get injuries is when you say like, yeah, this is a thud period, but Tommy understands thud this way, and your JV kid that you just called up understands thud that way, and that's how injuries happen. So if we just say full go and leave it on the coaches to blow the whistle quick, then everybody's on the same page. But if you look at the defensive drill system, or you look at the bird walk drill, or you look at, obviously quarterbacks, running backs, receivers don't need a ton of contact in their drills.
Right.
But like even my tackling progressions in our tackling masterclass, very light, minimal contact. There's nothing in indies that is heavy contact. If you are doing the old school Oklahoma drills and stuff, like you're going to get hurt, and your kids don't deserve that, but you deserve that. Honestly, I mean, it's unfortunate your kids are going to be sacrificed because you are out of date and you are wrong. So, but being smart about that, and then do you have someone available? And if not, how can you get the information? Because not everybody has it available. If you have a trainer, if you have a full-time, athletic trainer on staff, are they helping you out with those precautions? Are they doing recovery days? If not, is there something available? Most high schools have something available, on a Saturday morning recovery, or your kids getting in for recovery on Saturday mornings after the game, all that sort of stuff. Are you taking those precautions as well? And I'm not an expert on that. Like they come in and
you
I
send them
don't.
over there.
Yeah.
But we're at that point now where you do have to have that person, whoever it is. If it luckily I married a physical therapist. So wherever I go, we've got recovery handled. She's going to be able to look at things, even if it's remote. Now a lot of PT has gone remote, which is very doable, and it's a bonus. It's something you get in, right? We still have ice baths. We still have,
Yes.
the young trainers that some people get athletic trainers, but not all schools get that.
A lot of ours are usually like loaned out from college or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But you need to have a person that does that. You need to have a professional, because we aren't very, very few of us have gone down that path and studied and learned how to get back from these injuries quickest. We almost all are doing what our head coach did when we played football. And it's like, tape a bag of ice to that.
Does anybody know how to tape an ankle? Right. We got one
Yeah.
guy who knows how to tape an ankle. Yeah. I mean, the remote thing is great. Is it, considered that for a lot of us, we're coaching in remote areas. So I talked to one coach, and I had this problem in Amelia too. Amelia is not way far out, but another coach who's farther out and I were talking about the school board approved a stipend for an athletic trainer. And that stipend is the same as or comparable to what somebody who is, say, in Richmond City would get. Well, the problem is Richmond City has MCV and it has Medical College of Virginia and it has Virginia Commonwealth and it has all these colleges and so therefore has people who are available and it has population. And if you are 50 minutes, an hour and a half, this coach was an hour, full hour and a half away from any city of any college. Well, that stipend is not enough for somebody they couldn't get
Can't do the commute part.
So they gave me a stipend and said, we have a stipend for an athletic trainer. I said, great. When did they get here? We're trying to find one. And the whole season went by. Now, on the one hand, there was no trainer to go to. So now we had a trainer there on Friday nights, but we didn't have one. We didn't have recovery and all that sort of stuff. They had to go to about 30 minutes away to go to an ortho for recovery. We did have that available. But again, they have to get up and drive, or their parents have to drive them 30, 40 minutes. So we didn't get that recovery the way we would like to. The remote option is one to definitely look into, because if you're in a place where, like, we never got a trainer, and it was great because the kids would be like, I'm hurt. I'm like, go sit on the bench. Like, as long as it wasn't their neck or something, or it wasn't a bone sticking out. So again, because then we got to stop practice,
right,
and get an ambulance here, get a rescue squad here, because we can't. But thankfully that didn't happen. We had planned for it, but it thankfully didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, it's not available to everyone.
Yep. So just, I think, you say it all the time, Joe, if you don't know, hire a professional. I think it's a great place to go out and find someone, some way, using modern stuff, right? If it is the remote PT, if it is a doctor in the area, almost every little community. I mean, there's some very small communities that don't have a lot, like a Dollar General and maybe a stoplight.
That's a large number of towns in the South, and I am technically in the South.
Yeah. And you're going to have to, go out and make a deal with someone. Maybe it's through advertisements or whatever. Get someone on your side. But there's a lot of options out there now for recovery.
Yeah. And I think it's another thing. I think this is true of the weight room. I think this is true of everything you mentioned, hire experts. It's not enough to just go out and Google some stuff or even chat GPT it, right? You need somebody who's actually qualified in this stuff, because when you start to get into this stuff, don't trust this to AI.
Yeah.
Like this, we still need people. AI is dumb. I can tell you that. AI is dumb.
The greatest piece of advice I can give you on recovery is we do not follow rice anymore, which throw ice on everything. That's no longer the way. You want things to get some swelling. You want them to have blood pumping through them. That's how you get recovery. When you put ice on injuries, soft tissue injuries especially, you stop blood flow and then things don't heal. You could be actually adding days of recovery to that player instead of just let them be hurt, let them get back. Yeah, we'll send out more information about that. We've covered it in previous podcasts too. When my wife, Dr. Chamberlain, came on, and talk through that. So I think it's Peace and Love is the new one. So if you're looking at rice or ice or whatever the things were, that doctors actually came out and said, I was wrong. That was not correct. Get rid of the ice. Let's jump into part 3 here, keeping players focused late in the season. So how do we've talked injuries, recovery, practice. Outside of those things, how are we keeping our players focused when we get into this part that, well, it's hard for coaches to stay focused sometimes.
Yeah. What's the purpose of us being here kind of thing. We need to redefine our purpose. If the purpose is just to get to the, it depends on where we're at, but like, I think the biggest thing is look at each week and say, are we saying the same thing every week? Is every week like, we just need to go get better, have some pride. This is my favorite one. We're 0-7. Just let's have some pride. I don't want to. That sucks.
Play confident.
Have some pride. Have confidence. I don't want to. That sounds like it sucks. Like, what is the motive? What is the motivation? What is it that I'm doing out here? There are things, even when you're very bad, that, your seniors are about to have their football career come to an end. That's the reality of it. Even the ones who might go play. Look, I played Division III football. It ain't the same, right? Football being what it was, and I don't know, all the transfer stuff now in high school, maybe it's even sooner, but football being what it was growing up, playing with the guys that I grew up with, ended in, the end of my senior year, and ended with me having a broken leg, which was cool. And that was it. And I mean, I played 2 more years, but it wasn't the same. It's never going to be the same. And the fact of the matter is a large number of those kids who think they're going to play college won't. They'll walk on, they'll go for 3 days and they'll come home. There's a lot that won't make it. There's a lot who are going to be playing their last snap of football. 90% of them or more are going to be playing their last snap of football. So there is that motivation for your seniors, for you as a coach. Don't let these kids down. Don't let their last 3 games be, pointless misery. Have conversations with them about it. Talk to them. This is your last game. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? This is where we're going. You've got your younger guys who, on the one hand, can be motivated to play for those seniors if the team is set up that way. They also may be motivated because they, next season they're still getting better. They've still got the opportunity to improve. You can have the opportunity to shock the world. Con Chase, who does some of our game film analysis and has been on the Football Coaching Podcast, longtime JDFB member. Con was 0-6 and shocked the world. They beat the number 1 team, 22-21 or something like that, for the first win of the season. And it was this point of, like week 7, and they shocked the world. And so there's always the opportunity. You keep improving. Again, you find that team that's just trying to get to the playoffs. There's always the opportunity to shock the world if that's a potential. The risk in going out there and saying we're going to shock the world this week is if they come out and punch you in the mouth in the first series, you're like, we're not shocking the world this week. And you've got another 47 minutes of time to kill that could be pretty miserable. So, but what, if you're not very good, what is the message right now? If you are good enough to make the playoffs, then every week you are recapping. And I don't know, for us, it's a who's on first thing of the scenarios of if they win and we win and they win out and we win out and we win out and they win out. And if we get these points and they get those points, what does the playoff point structure look like? Y'all's is much cleaner, but what does the playoff picture look like? What do we need to win? What do we, we have to win this game. This game pretty much locks us in. This game gets us to a 7 seed. This game gets us to a 6 seed. Like, I don't want to say we want to avoid the number 1 seed, but obviously we want to avoid the number 1 seed. Like, one year we played the number 7 seed. The first year we made the playoffs, first winning season in 17 years. Going to the playoffs as the 7 seed. I can't remember what we did. We won the last game of the season, but I can't remember if that got us in or because I feel like week 10, I know we won in overtime, and I feel like that was a playoff game in and of itself. Right. But it ended up getting us the 7 seed. The 7 seed, the 2 seed, so we have 8 teams to go. The 2 seed was very good, but we hung in with them. It was 28-21 in the third quarter, And then, same thing. We're on our gas. We're on our bullets. The 1 seed was winning by an average of like 62 points. They were killing everyone. They were going up the next year to 4A. They were absolutely the most dominant team in the state, hands down, no question. If we had gotten the 8 seed, we were losing by 100. And instead we got the 7 seed. So like that little stuff matters. Like we want to make a run. Do we have any delusions of knocking the dominant, best team in a generation off? Not really, but we want to get a game that's winnable.
It's doable, right?
We have a chance. So what does the seeding look like? So what's our motivation? Our motivation can't just be to play with some pride. And if you're saying the same thing every week, it's going to lose steam. It's going to lose gas. You have rivalries. It's always easier to pump that up, to get ready for a big rivalry game. Just find a reason, find a motivation every single week. Find a, what is the goal? And I don't like goals like, give up less than 10 points per game and give up. By the way, that's another one, that goal chart. That always, you get to this point that we talked about at the beginning of the episode, you get to this point in the season and like all of your goals are trashed. You've got that goal chart up and you haven't met a single one of them in like 5 weeks. Like we're just going to, like, that's the one that starts to disappear too, is let's just not track that this week. Let's don't worry about the goal chart. I like the helmet stickers, but I like to put the helmet stickers to things that you're going to be able to do every single week. And, effort stickers and that kind of stuff. And it's, who great plays, great effort plays, great things that a kid can go out there and he can earn his helmet stickers regardless of what's going on. So there may be some individual motivation. There may be some motivation for getting recruited, hopefully by colleges and not by other high schools for next season. But there's some motivation in those things. Find out what these kids are motivated by. Motivate them, but make sure that your practices have a focus and your practices. Ultimately it comes back to what we already talked about, and I want to focus on that here. Ultimately it comes back to when we show up to practice, what is our focus? What is our reason? What are we going to get better at? Or are we just going to go run the same drills we've been running all season long? Practice is going to look the same, or is coach going to do something wacky just for the sake of doing something wacky? Like we get there, instead of working on football, we play sharks and minnows for an hour. Like, what are we doing, coach? I don't want to get to my last year with one coach, the only time that I've been in a situation where the head coach was getting fired and everybody knew that this was it. And we did some wacky stuff there. He was really grasping for like finding something. And some of it was just like, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't just, keep it football. Keep it football.
Yeah. I think you've got to lean into like what you said it earlier, the seniors, playing for the seniors. And we've talked a lot in this portion, like your team's not very good, but honestly, you could be undefeated right now, right? And that's an easy one to lean into. Hey, we
undefeated right now is like, yeah, you everybody is going to give you their best shot. Right. The one that I did with that, and we were able to play this game every single week. I would come in and I would say, this team is whatever, but here's some things that they do good. And we know they are going to come out with a new offense, a new look, a trick, crazy stuff, breathing fire, giving us everything they've got. And what we did every week was we would say, weather the storm. They're going to come out and they're going to throw haymakers the first series, the first quarter, weather the storm. We're going to come out and we're going to, keep playing our game. We know that they might come out and throw a haymaker. Just keep doing what we do. And that was our thing. But I have a more business-like approach, and that worked for those kids.
Yeah. Getting we've gotten to that point where like game film is real big right now. Be able to share a kid's highlight reels or game films or whatever. So, we're able to start stacking those now. So kids have that to stay focused on, or to help. Look, yes, maybe we are undefeated or maybe we're completely defeated, but you're still able to go out there and show individually something, to get better, to show here's the plays I'm making, whatever. I think that's really big right now for kids to, keeping them focused into the end of the season. Social media is so big. It's great to be able to start putting up we've gotten really into tracking historical things. So you talk about having a historical season, but just what
Yeah.
are the records we're chasing? What's something we could actually break this year? And start tracking that with your kids. So look, maybe some kid has just got he's had great run of tackles or tackles for losses or sacks. So finding those individual goals that are making the team successful, and we can't unhighlight the team here, but just showing, we're going to continue to do great things. This is how we're going to get you in a place to do that. I was thinking Mike Evans, right? He's what is he, 11 seasons straight of 1,000 yards
1,000 yards,
rushing.
yeah.
Like,
His last year, he got it. Yeah,
yeah, and I mean 17. Are we playing 17
he
games
plays
now?
17 games now. Yeah, and it was just like
And
the
it, and
last stat.
it's and sure, now he gets 17 instead of 15 or whatever to get 1,000 yards, but still, that's a long season to keep guys motivated and keep them coming out. But you're looking for that type of thing, right? What can we send off my seniors knowing they did well or whatever? So I think that's just another piece of it. You still got to stay team focused, but there's so many variables there for, what you could be looking at and so many different ways of getting into the playoffs. Like you said, Joe, you guys can go, you can be 3-4 and still have an actual chance to go be what you ended up with a 2 or 3 seed or something one year, didn't you? Like you hosted.
Last year, we ended up with a 4 seed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hosted
And
the first home playoff game, but we were. I mean, yeah, we were.
now in Oklahoma, that's a little harder for us because of the way we just do our district wins, losses,
Yeah,
and point differential. But anyway, there's just a lot going on. There's ways to stay motivated. There's ways to stay
yeah.
focused.
I love the records, and one of the things about it is you're probably not able to get accurate records. The last staff didn't keep stats like you
Right.
do, or maybe you haven't kept stats, but just go do the research and just say, as best we can find,
Yes.
we have the chance to have the most rushing yards in school history, or something like that. And all we got to do is average 177 yards on the ground the next 3 weeks.
Yep.
And like that is a motivator for your offensive lineman. That's the running back. He wanted 177 yards anyway, right? But the offensive linemen go, man, we could block for history. And is it real? Who the frick cares? Like, did they probably run for more yards in 1982? Yeah, probably. They didn't throw the ball.
Right. The forward
But
pass
we
was
don't
not
have those
invented.
numbers. So as best we can find in the modern era, which by the way, to your kids is about the last 6 years. In the modern era, like, we're gonna set the modern record for whatever. If
I
your
love
school
it.
hasn't kept great records, that's fine. Maybe your school's brand new. Maybe you're a youth coach and it doesn't even exist. You can just say, look, maybe you're a youth coach and this is your second season coaching, and just be like, we have a chance to run for the most yards of any team I've ever coached. Or I asked around and no coach that I could find said that they had ever run for more than, 1,200 yards. And you go, all we got to do is run for 87 yards this week to break the record.
There we go.
And it's like, and you're sitting there on the sidelines and you're like, that way. And then you've got a thing, like, all we do is run for 87 yards. And you've got a thing now in the middle of the third quarter to be like, we need 3 more yards. It's like,
Yeah.
just make it up. Who cares?
And I think for your, I know we talk about players, but for coaches, we have to keep coaches focused as well. And I think it's the methodical attack of things the same every week, right? But you mentioned earlier, Joe, it better be something that's actually working, right? If I have a guy going out and like I do the Cody Alexander hit charts, right? So I go and do every formation, I tag them a certain way. I'm going out and tallying which position in that formation got the ball, which number jersey got the ball, et cetera, et cetera. That's a lot of work. But I feel like right now it's having results. So I'm okay doing that. If it got to a point where like, look, man, we're 0-7 and we're still trying to do all this work, right? Maybe it doesn't matter as much. But if you can stay methodical, keep guys doing the same job. I think there's a lot into that. Just we're doing the thing that we set out to do because we said this was going to work. Once again, it better have some stinking results behind it, or you're going to be wasting your time. But that's what coaches are looking for, that continuity, I think.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with being honest. We hate to admit we were wrong, but if you've got, especially if it's something that's player facing and you're doing it every single week, and I know I've had things like this, but I can't no example is immediately coming to mind. it's happened with plays where I know that with plays it's happened where kids have been like, "Are we going to run such and such this week?" And I'm like, "Has it worked all season?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "We're not running it." And it's like, I thought that we would be able to do such and such with this play. It happens during a game. We worked on a play call all week, and then like we ran it twice and it got destroyed. And
Right.
it's like, and they're like, "Well, what about this play?" And I'm like, it didn't work. Sorry, it's not. We're not coming back to it. But like, let's say that we said Tuesday is takeaway Tuesday, and we're going to do a takeaway circuit for the first 30 minutes of every Tuesday. And you get to week 7 and you have, 3 takeaways on the year. And you go, you know what? Takeaway Wednesday, and we're only going to do it for 10 minutes. It's like, because it ain't working.
Let's
And
reduce
that's
that.
okay. You tell them, it
better
ain't
at
working. We got to try it. We won't just, we're not going to do the same thing every week when it's not working.
Yeah.
We're not going to run the same drill every week when it's not working. We got to change it up. We're not going to run the same alignment every week. Now, I don't recommend you change your whole defense, but, slide a guy here, move a guy. Alignment's always the easiest one to change. It's a simple. One season we did, it just gave us a little bit of energy, and it became we were running the 4-2-5. We were struggling, and we installed the last 3 weeks, we installed a 3-4 front. Well, all we did was we get into practice, we slid everybody over a half man, and then we slanted them back. Okay. And the end stood up. I actually think we took the end off and put the strong end off and put in our third safety, who was about 135 pounds, 140 pounds. And we installed that the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. And I know when it was because I was at a wedding in Key West that I had to go fly down on a Saturday morning and fly back on Monday morning to be at practice Monday night. But we made the adjustment from my hotel room and installed it. It was technically a brand new defense in theory, right? It's 3-4, but we were lining up. All we did was slide the defensive lineman a half man and then slanted them back and gave it a name. And so like that's an alignment lever. That's pretty simple, but it can kind of inject a new look without going crazy. But I've also seen coaches who installed the double wing midway through the season. They're like,
get out of here. All right, man. I think we've checked all the boxes. One more time, I'm gonna remind you guys to refer this out. If you found something interesting today, shoot it out to a coach you know. Maybe it's a dad getting started in youth. Maybe it's someone who's in college and playing some pickup football. I don't know, man. Shoot it out and let coaches get better. Today we talked about maintaining peak performance through practice planning, limiting injuries, and accelerating recovery, and keeping players focused late in season so you don't get that late season drop off. Last week we talked about our team doesn't play with confidence. Next week, our tackling is inconsistent. I look forward to that one, especially because I know Joe and I are on the same page a lot with those. Real quick, knock out our level up, Joe.
Yeah, my wife turned an age we will not mention. It had a big birthday, and we had a great group of friends came and met us at the place we met at Buddy's. For those of you in the Richmond area, Daniel's been there. So it's our place. We met there. We go there. If we get a chance to go out, we go there. In fact, the babysitter came, and my wife's sister and her 2 boys and her dad came down for it as well. And the babysitter, who was my son's very first nanny, and then a month in got a big kid job, but still babysits. And she was like talking to my sister-in-law, and she was like, "Oh, where are you guys going?" And she was like, "We're going to Buddy's." And she's like, "I don't know why I asked." She's like, "Every single time I babysit, they're going to Buddy's." I was like, "That's a lie." One time, I think we went somewhere else. One time. But yeah, we had a great event. And by the way, we used, and if anybody wants to plan an event, my friends all were like, "Why does he keep spamming? Why do you keep sending out these spam text messages?" But we got the people there. And for those of us who don't do Facebook and do all the, like, if you invite me on Facebook, I'm not coming because I won't know about it unless somebody else.
Nah, those events mean nothing to me.
So we used an app called Partyful, which was cool. We put everybody in there. It's PARTIFUL. It was cool. You make a little card up. You put, everybody's phone numbers. Hopefully you're inviting people. You got their phone numbers, and you put the phone numbers in there, and you just go through your contacts list and select who you want to invite. And it sends a text out like, a couple weeks before or a month before, and then sends a reminder out a week before and sends a reminder the day before. And They can RSVP on there. So that made that process smooth. It was a little tool to check out.
Yeah. Having little things like that sure helps as you get older when, we don't have as much time, or I've got way too much in my schedule, or what, and it's just
Well,
nice
you're inviting people. You want to invite people you haven't seen in 6 months, or the people that you don't get to see at holidays, or the whatever. You don't see all your friends at school every day anymore.
Right. 100%.
People that you used to work with, that was her thing. Was people that she used to work with, she didn't get to see much, and people that we don't get to go out much, right? So
life comes at you quick, unfortunately.
And sending out 75 text messages is pretty unsustainable. And you don't want to put everybody on a group text.
Oh my God, it's
40 people who don't know each other on a group text. That's a crime.
I just leave those, and then you don't get me there anyways. It's better than Facebook, but not much better.
And about the maximum you can do for that. That's
my level up. And I may have talked about this before. I can't remember. We started. So The Martian is I love the movie The Martian with Mark Wahlberg in it. I love that, the story, all of that of the movie. And I just found out a few months ago that it was actually a book first. Andy Weir, I believe is his name. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it doesn't matter. And so I got into reading streak of the Andy Weir books. Started with The Martian because I knew the story and it was an easy listen and I loved it. Just the scientific accuracy behind it, and the formulas, and space travel is all super accurate. And I thought that was a really neat way to write a book. So I started reading more. Project Hail Mary, it was the second one I did. And it's this big, there's a danger out in space, and the Earth has to send a team out to learn the danger. I don't want to give too much away, but anyway, it's called Project Hail Mary. That one was kind of mind-blowing, just how neat it was, and watching this person problem solve in real time, and I guess real time, as I'm reading it, but trying to figure something out when it's never happened before. They don't know, they've never done anything like that before. So that was really neat. And once again, with as much scientific accuracy as you can have with sending a spaceship to another star.
Sure. Something's never been done
in the universe. Right. Some of it you got to kind of make up, but it's all based on scientific theory and space-time continuation, relativity, all that good stuff. Anyway, then I started a third one called Artemis, which is like this place on the moon. There's a city on the moon, and there's a lot of stuff going on. It's the least scientific of them all, but it's kind of nice to have a little bit easier read about, my mind isn't like exploding from like all of this distance in the universe. It feels closer to home. So if you're looking for a set of books, I think there's one more called The Egg. I've not started yet, but if you're looking for a series of books by an author who's a pretty easy read, they're definitely out there with good readers on audiobooks. Get into the Andy Weir books. I think that you'll like them if you just need something to take your mind away. We're talking about you're kind of burnout right now in football. You want to get away from sports books and self-improvement and all that stuff that we preach those a lot on here because honestly they work. But this has been a really good series of books I can turn on when I'm doing other stuff, and got to go back and listen sometimes because I missed something super scientific and I'm upset. But yeah, the Andy Weir books are a great place to start. So jump in there. I recommend The Martian because you've probably already watched the movie and you can read it really easy. But Project Hail Mary is the best one so far, by far.
Yeah, I've wanted to check the movie and the book. Movies always. I definitely want to read the book.
Yeah, the book is just more thorough. This is one of those, the movie covers all the stuff and there's one big change at the end that the movie changed for feel good things, but the book just has so much more in depth. You learn about like when he blows himself up and all this stuff, like why did that happen? The book explains it a lot better. But yeah. And Project Hail Mary is supposed to be a movie here in the next couple of years too. So so that'll be good. Anyway, let's pay the bills one more time and then we will get out of here, man.
Yeah, I'll remind you again, if you are a reader, if you want to read, listen, I don't like to have sound when I'm in my reading room. So there are times when I just want to read and sit for a little bit, peaceful time away from the kids. So I've been writing more because I wasn't able to find things. So been writing again. I used to write a lot. Been writing again and doing some bigger, longer posts, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 word posts that you can dive into We've done a deep dive on cover 3. We've done a deep dive on drills and just the philosophy behind drills and the thought process behind drills, 5 strengths and weaknesses of the 4-2-5 defense. You can check all those out. And I'm sure there's more that are being added. We're adding every Monday and Wednesday over at joedanielfootball.com, joedanielfootball.com/blog, or you'll be able to find it on the website. We're having a meeting about that. Make sure you can find them a little bit easier here soon as well. So, and the podcast comes out on Thursday. So you can have JDFB all week long. Just go check them out. Go jump in, and mostly going to be writing from a defensive focus, but go check it out at joedanielfootball.com.
Love it. Yeah, I don't really have anything else. Athletic speed movement, if you're looking for that thing to put your team over the edge, speed is probably it. I understand that we're getting pretty late in season, and trying to install something now might be more than what you're ready for. We just talked about maybe it's the thing you need to stop your burnout. So go check out we have an in-season schedule there, in-season plan. But as you get into this November, December, the season comes to an end, you're getting ready to fire things back up next year. You definitely want to have read through and maybe even gone through some of the plans so you know what it's supposed to look like. So that way you can kick January off with a bang. AthleticSpeedMovement.com.
Yep. And JDFB weight room coming out here will be open through November 14th. If you want to get that, I definitely recommend you get that for your, it's a 24-week off-season program. If you start at the first week of January, that runs you right to the end of July, and then you jump straight into the in-season program that's there in the complete program. But you definitely want to get it, start looking at it. There's also a 2-week on-ramp that you could use, from the end of the season to winter break, and it fits perfect as well. So you can go and start working the lifts, and a lot of coaches will start working the lifts, do the first 4 weeks with, whatever group they have, and then they'll kind of reset and bring everybody in. It's got jumping on points, so the guys don't have to start right at. They can always just hit the on-ramp. Even if somebody's brand new, can hit the on-ramp program for 2 weeks and then dive right into to wherever you're at in the rest of the season. So, but you want to get it, do the full off-season, JDFB weight room. You want to get it before November 14th so that you get the 2025 pricing.
Perfect. Awesome. Social media, I'm at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. DMs and emails are probably the easiest way to get to me. Joe, where are you at, sir?
Facebook.com/JoeDanielFootball. We've been getting a lot of great interaction over there. We'll say it. I'm going to jump in and leave some Football Coaching Podcast listener comments. We get a lot of comments from people who might be football coaches. Maybe.
I think they're bots.
Yeah, we get some good ones, but we get some crazy ones. So jump on over there and check out that's also where you can see the new articles that are coming up. We'll expand our social media footprint again, but x.com is at football info, and then at Joe Daniel Football on TikTok and Instagram as well. Joe at joedanielfootball.com if you have any questions, and obviously joedanielfootball.com.
Awesome. Podcast is at the FBCP on Twitter/X. If this is your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Find us on your favorite podcatcher, mainly Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where everybody's listening. Been listening for a while, leave us a review, especially on those two. That's what's going to give us the most help in spreading the word. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, coach simple, play fast, win.